Hi there, welcome back to True Gooner. And transfer season is upon us, and everyone's banging on about this player and that player and this player and that player and who we should buy. However, Arsenal does have a good, strong history of developing players from their youth. So, tonight we're joined with Adam again, who we've seen many times before. How are you doing, Adam?
Fine, thank you, mate.
And we've got a debut show for Steve. How are you, Steve?
How you doing, guys? All right?
Yeah, good, thanks. So, let's talk about this. Steve, do you still think we're promoting a lot of youth from our system, or do you think we've been linked now with too many players?
Well, obviously, Iwobi came on last season, didn't he? He did really well. He came in and he kept a few players out the side. We've got Akpom coming back now. Be nice to see him, to give him a go, but I can't see us going into the season with Akpom as our second striker, which I just can't see that happening.
No, I can't either.
And obviously, you've got Sonogo as well, and I can't wait to get him out the door.
He hasn't done much.
So it's tough, but I mean, with Narbury and Akpom and Rennie Adelaide and Gideon, trying to get them all into the team and get them games, I just can't see how that's going to happen.
Yeah. Adam, what are your views on that?
Yeah, you kind of have to agree that we haven't been promoting as much as we should. Well, what we used to, only because I think now we're under much more pressure to deliver trophies, whereas a few seasons ago we could maybe afford to promote the youngsters. You mentioned Iwobi. He's been quite promising this season. Hopefully he'll develop over the summer, because I just felt at the end of the season he was just lagging a little bit. Maybe he just needed to maybe have a couple of games of rest. But yeah, in terms of any others, I can't. I mean, the only time I've really seen the season was against Sheffield Wednesday away, and they weren't too great that game either. So,
no, it didn't work out that day.
I think it's going to be difficult for Wenger to promote any youth players. I look at Akpom, Hull City didn't really do it for me this season. He only scored a few goals really, so I can't imagine him staying at Arsenal for another season. Which, I mean, we did the same thing with Afobe, and Afobe had much more talent than Akpom, so I can see us maybe loaning him out again, maybe even to a League One club, because I don't think he's a Championship level, to be honest.
He did help Hull. Akpom did help Hull get promoted this season.
Yeah, but he wasn't prolific. I expected him to score maybe 10 to 15 goals though.
No, I think he scored 7. I think he scored 7. That's not quite.
But you look at the amount of games he played, there's not really the best return. But he's still young. He still might prove us wrong. But look at Afobe when he went to MK Dons. I know they were in League One. He absolutely smashed it up, didn't he? So, but we still sold him. So, I don't really see him figuring for us next season.
Oh, do you agree with that, Steve? You don't think he will?
No, I don't think so. I think he's a good, promising lad, but I think he needs to get more games under his belt at a high level, and I don't think he's ready, certainly, to be our backup striker, whoever was going to be our main striker, whether it's going to be Giroud, which hopefully not. But, if I think he needs to go and get games somewhere else and try and develop and see where he is. I can't see him being our backup striker at the moment.
No, well, we're just basically on the topic of Akpom now. However, it did work for Hector Bellerin, and now look at him now. He's in the Spanish team, and all credit to him. He got into Team of the Year last year, and last year he was basically an Arsenal starlet, and now he's made that right back his own. And Alex Iwobi looks like he's coming through, so it has been done in a couple of seasons. So. And anyway, moving off to the topic of Akpom, there's also a lot of others like Gnabry, Hayden, René Adelaide, Glenn Kamara, Bielek, John Torrell, Wellington Silva, Dan Crondy. Steve, which one of those youngsters do you feel has a best chance of coming back into the first team?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about Gideon, isn't there?
Yeah,
he's done very well with Rangers up getting promotion. He's played a lot of games up there. I mean, he could be one that could come through. I do like Rene, when I've seen him play, Rene Adelaide, when he's got a game or a few minutes, he does look very composed in that midfield. So I think he's one that could step up. I think Cowley's already been earmarked to go out again on loan next season.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
Yeah, so and I haven't really seen a lot of the other lads really to say which one can step up. I mean, Narbury, he's had a couple of chances with us. He's had a big injury, didn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't really done it at West Brom.
He didn't do it at West Brom, but then it's different sort of team to Arsenal, West Brom. I mean, the way they play, they're not really going to suit his style, I wouldn't have thought. But again, I can't see him. We've got a lot of players that can play on that right-hand side already for him to squeeze in somewhere. So, no, I can't see that happening, really. And then Chambers is the other one, isn't it? I mean, Chambers is going to struggle to get games next season, especially if we go and buy another centre-back. So I think he could be another one that could go out on loan next season to get some games.
Yeah. On the subject of that, Adam, do you think it's a good idea to send Chambers out on loan? Because he did, at the start of when we bought him, he was like brilliant. He got a player of the month, and the start of this season against Liverpool and I think it was Newcastle, he really struggled in those two games. But when he played against Leicester, he had like the best 45 minutes. So do you reckon it's a good idea to send him on loan to get more game time?
Oh, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one, actually. I'm not too sure, because I think if we send him on loan, I just think I can understand why we'd send him on loan, but I personally think he hasn't been that bad. He was brilliant when he signed for us, but then Wenger obviously played him at right back in Swansea. He just had a bit of a shocker against that Montero, but think of the bad games Mertesacker's had, and yet he still hasn't been dropped. So I personally think we should keep him. Even if we do sign a centre back, I think we should still pursue with him. I think he should be ahead of Mertesacker because
definitely
Chambers has got so much more to give. I believe in that game, like you said, against Leicester, I thought it was fabulous. He was just he just looked so composed, and I feel with Chambers, he's got so much more to give, but we just need to give him that run of games that he deserves. Because he had a bit of a difficult game against Liverpool, but we're so quick to judge our defenders. I mean, the amount of bad games Koscielny's had. I mean, he's had more good than bad, but he still has some shocking games. The same with Gabriel. I mean, I don't understand why we didn't play him towards the end of last season. We had technically nothing to play for. So even against Villa, just playing for
I would have played
minutes.
in that game.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we should keep him, but I think we might send him on loan, to be honest, back to Southampton.
I wouldn't send him back there because the problem I've got is if you send these people back to the clubs that they were originally from, or like Carl Jenkinson, you keep loaning them out to the same club all the time, they're going to want to stay there. They're not going to want to come back. So I'll say if you're going to loan them out, would you loan them out to a different club, maybe, and another club in the Premier League, of course, because you want to be playing with teams of Premier League quality. You don't want to be playing in the Championships where it's completely different context of that. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Carl Jenkinson, that's another young player, isn't it? That he's going to want to come back to the club, and I think Debussy is going to move on probably, which means Carl Jenkinson could slot quite nicely into a backup right back position, I think. But I mean, going out on loan, I think if Chambers was to go out, then he would get games. But as Adam was saying, if we could keep him at the club and give him games, that would be a better scenario, really. But if Wenger is going to go out and buy another central defender, then where does that leave Chambers playing as a central defender? There was talk of him developing into a defensive midfield player at some point, but can't really see that happening now that we've got Xhaka and El Neni and Coquelin all in that position. So I don't really have a problem with him going out to the same clubs again, to be honest. But I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, definitely. Adam, do you think there's any of the youth players that you think that should be getting more game time in the Arsenal team? Do you think there's any?
No, not at the moment. I mean, I've seen glimpses from Rennie Adelaide that he looks quite impressive, but it sounds so bad. But when do we play him? I mean, the only time we can really play him is in the League Cup, and maybe the odd FA Cup match. We're at the stage now where we can't be thinking of the youth, I'm afraid, anymore, unless they have that talent to come straight through. Then I'm afraid we just can't. We haven't got room for players who take a year or two, like the Ox has done. Really, he's taken too long to settle in. We need players like Arobi in some instances come in and does a good job already. So I think maybe, the player I wouldn't mind seeing is that Maitland Niles. He was at loan at
Maitland Niles.
Yeah, he's come back, isn't he?
Yeah. He's had a good season. John Terrell's another one. He's a bit of an odd one because he's done well at Birmingham, but would he get into the Arsenal team? No chance.
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. He would.
No. But Sorry, I was to say he'll get to the age though where he'll want to be playing more consistently, and I don't know how old he is. If he's 21, 22, he might be at the age I want to be playing every game, not playing the under 21s again, being on the bench the other time playing the League Cup because. Nowadays players want to be playing every single game, and they're a bit more impatient as well.
Yeah, definitely. They just want to be getting out and just playing. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I just think it's obviously football's changed. It's now all about money and spending. Well, not if you're a Leicester fan, it's not. But generally, it is. Yeah, Wenger does have this philosophy of promoting youth. Like he promoted Cesc Fabregas from the academy. Look what he turned out. He promoted Jack Wilshere from the academy. Look how he's turned out. And Hector Bellerin's done that. And let's have your views on Alex Iwobi. Do you actually think he's ready to actually gain a start in the first team, or do you think he needs to be eased into?
Just going to plug some power in back in a sec.
Okay. So Adam, what?
Me first? John first, or?
Yeah. Alex
I'll go first then.
Yeah, sure.
No, he's not ready for a starting place. No, not my first 11 anyway. He's not ready. What we've got to bear in mind of these young players is not to have too much faith in them.
Oh, no.
Because although they do have a potential, I don't want to be him starting every game and thinking, he's better than he is. He still needs to be kept on his toes. I think there are better players than Alex Iwobi out there, but obviously Alex Iwobi is very young. I think he's got so much potential, but I would definitely keep him in the squad on the bench. Play him like the odd game, but we just got to because you can see he had such a great start. He's just playing with no fear, but in the last couple of games he got found out just a little bit, which is not his fault because it's going to happen. The other team's going to say what he does right and what he does really well, and they're going to try and exploit that. So I think he just needs to be in around the squad, but he's definitely not ready for a first for a starter place because I think we're just under so much pressure now. We can't afford for anyone to really have one or two bad games in a row, really.
No, we cannot. Simply not. Steve, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think Alex Iwobi should be getting a regular start, or do you think he should be easing on a bit?
I think we should be easing him in really. I think with the signing that we've made with Xhaka getting some sides, and Cazorla's obviously back, hopefully now, with Wilshere playing, I don't think Iwobi gets into our first 11, assuming everybody's fit. But I think he's a good, possibly impact player to come on late on. You can play in a couple of positions up front, so I'd definitely keep him in the first team squad. But I can't see him really playing as a first team regular, not yet anyway.
No, I don't think so either. I do think that he should be getting some game time, but I don't think he should be the first person on that team sheet just yet. I think we should ease him in a bit. And just like I was saying in most of my previews last season, is that I felt he was getting too much game time and he was being a bit, what's it called? He was getting,
maybe slacking.
Yeah, the word's gone out of my head, yeah. Well, but burnt out was I was supposed to say, a little bit burnt out, because I was trying to say give him a rest and give Joel Campbell a run in, and because if you're just going to keep playing them and they get burnt out, then it's not going to do them any good for their competence. Just like Hector Bellerin was a bit shaky. It's around Christmas time, so then DT and other people were saying that they think it's better if they come out of the side a bit. So I just think we need to be doing the same to the just give them a few games and then take them out a bit if they're slacking. But if they're playing well, of course, then you can't change because I don't like things being changed if they are working. But yeah, basically that. So I just wanted to ask a few more questions. Steve, do you think we're promoting too much youth, or do you think we just need to spend more money?
I think this season we need to spend money. I think this season's about establishing us back to where we want to be. I know we finished second, but really, we want to be going for that top spot. We don't want to be falling apart come February, March. We're going to get injuries. We always get injuries, so there's no reason to believe we're not going to get injuries again.
Well, we will.
And I think we need some stronger, fitter players to come in to complement what we've already got. And if we can upgrade on any of our positions, whoever it might be, then we need to do it. I don't think we can rely on the kids coming in and taking over from the Girouds, and we need to buy the right players.
Yeah, definitely.
And if it costs money, it costs money.
Yeah, you just have to spend it to put the money down. Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you there. Adam, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're promoting a lot of youth, or do we just need to spend more money?
We need to spend more money, for sure. A lot more money.
Yeah.
In terms of promoting, we do, if they're good enough, promote them, but only if they can improve the team or give us something a bit more. If they're too similar to other players, then there's no point, because like I said, we just cannot afford to give unproven players game time when, let's face it, we're under so much, Wenger's under so much pressure now. So I don't think he will, unless they're if they're exceptional talent, then promote them if they're good enough. But like I said, we just need to spend money and upgrade on, a striker, a winger, and a centre back. And if there's any more players that can improve the team, we can do that. But yeah, I think we may have to give the youth a miss maybe for next season, but obviously play them in the League Cup games and your FA Cup match. But in terms of league games, we just can't afford to.
No, definitely not. I have to agree with you there. Right, just before we wrap it up, I'd just like to ask each one of you a couple of questions. The first one is still regarding youth. This one, name me one youth that you really want to see get in the game next season. So we'll start with you, Steve.
I'd like to see Zelalem to get a game. I think.
Good shout.
I think he's now ready to play in the squad, not necessarily the first team, but I think he needs to be around the place like Akpom was. He was kept at the club, and I think Gideon needs to be the same now. I think he's the one for me to step up.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What about Adam? One youth.
I agree, Zelalem for sure.
You go Zelalem. Yeah, he's a good player, and hopefully Wenger is actually planning to bring him back, so should be good to see. All right, then we'll wrap it up there. Sorry, it was a short show today, but we just thought we'd just talk about a bit of the youth rather than the actual transfers, which we have done a show on. Check out that. And thanks to Steve for joining me, and
thank you.
Thanks to Adam for joining me again. A pleasure to have you again. And leave in the comments below, everyone, which youth you would like to bring in, or do you want to ask any of the questions that we had? Like, do you think we're promoting too much youth, or do you think we need to be spending more money, or do you think we're being mentioned too many players, or do you think there's any of the youth players that we mentioned, or any others that we missed that should be getting more game time? Leave it all in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you soon. And until I next see you, come on, you Reds.